All right, you know what? We're just going to go live a couple minutes early because Jason Ortiz in the chat just dropping a bunch of questions. So, if you are watching this between at any point later in the week, not live, I usually try to go through this real quickly, give some of my thoughts and opinions on the players, the waiver wire players this week, and what I agree with, disagree with, based on, I just use this Fantasy Pros cheat sheet, and I will look over one other list too that might have a couple of names that they might not have had here. Oh, there's an ad. All right, so first, let me get to this list of questions here. Why can't I? Okay, hold up. It wasn't letting me scroll with it popped out. Come on. Oh, you know what? Maybe it was. Maybe I didn't need a scroll. It was just the poll was covering it, I bet. Okay. What the heck? I'll just look at it on my phone then. All right. Mr. Ortiz, what's up? Won all my leagues. Congratulations. Me too. And I do not have as good of records as you do, but I did win them all this week, so yay. Hooray. I needed a week like that. Still got some work to do. I got a ton of questions. Start one this week. Rest of season. Knicks, Caleb Purdy. I believe it would be Caleb rest of season and for this week. Purdy, if you just want a safer floor than Caleb, but you probably shouldn't attack the floor. Yeah, I mean Caleb's been pretty darn good, and I don't think they have the toughest schedule in the world. But yeah, I like Purdy plenty, but Caleb's the guy. Start one this week. Fields, Caleb, Jones, Darnold. Yeah, I mean, once again, Caleb's going to be at the top of that list. Obviously feel fine about Daniel Jones and Darnold. I feel good about them, and Fields just he's got a ceiling and he's got a floor, and they're both great. And a great floor is not a good thing. A great floor is a bad thing. So maybe the floor sucks. You know what I mean. It's very low and very high for Fields. The chances of either of those happening any given week too. Start one this week or rest of the season. Fields, Darnold. Fields, Dart. Man, I mean, I gotta think it's Dart. Like, he's had a really tough schedule to start the season, and he's done really well through it. And down the stretch, it's a lot better. So, I kind of like Dart. If you want to play it safe, it'd be Darnold there, especially if you went like Caleb with the other ones. You want to play it safe in one of the leagues, Darnold. But I would go for the upside, man. Dart, I think, has been doing really well. Once again, Darnold definitely offers a safer floor, though, than Dart. Although Dart's rushing upside has been, so high. Which two running back handcuffs are the best to have? Spears, not really. Kendra Miller, kind of maybe more-ish. Bam Knight, no, that's short term. Tootin, yeah, probably Tootin would be like in the best situation so far. Gainwell, Corum, Algier. Algier, Corum, Tootin, Miller, Gainwell, Spears, Knight, probably in that order for like handcuff type situations. I have Kamara and Pollard, so that's why I have Spears and Miller currently. Yeah, I mean, if you're just looking for pure upside and stuff, Algier, Corum, are going to be the guys who get put into the best situations there and have the most guaranteed of those situations. Although Corum, I do believe, got injured this week, so I don't know how serious that may or may not be. Start one this week, rest of season. Ertz, Mason Taylor, is that Michael Mayer? No. Juwan Johnson, no. Evan Ingram, nah. Theo. I mean, it's Ertz. And I think that would probably be true of this week's rankings as well. It would be. Is it okay to drop Carter for Spears, Corum, or Algier? In the short term, I'd rather Carter than Spears, Corum, or Algier, but if you're looking for a long-term thing there, once again, Algier, Corum, Spears in that order. Start one this week or rest of season. Ertz, Ingram, Theo, I assume, or Mayer. Once again, I have Ertz at the top of that list. Is it okay to go after Vidal, Knight, in waivers and dropping Chubb, DJ Moore, and Cup? So I'm not a big fan of Knight. I don't like him this week for the rankings. Maybe he's better next week, maybe not. But he'll probably be ranked better in a week from now, and then Benson could be coming back in 3 weeks from now. So, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Knight right now. I think maybe the people who grab him might just drop him after this week, maybe if they don't look forward enough. But Vidal over Chubb, sure. DJ Moore, sure. Cup, I would say, is the most droppable. So I would do Vidal, Cup, and then I would probably keep Chubb and DJ Moore myself. Okay. CC, what's up? How are you doing? Would Dalton Kincaid be a good pickup? Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best tight ends on the season so far. On a per game basis. Once again, I think he's probably overperformed at this point, but what is that? Top 6 tight end on the season on a per week basis, and that's including George Kittle's 1 quarter of play, and Darren Waller's small sample size, which will probably go down as well. But yeah, I mean, he's a top. We'll just say he's a top 5 kind of tight end right now. My starting tight end is Tucker Kraft. I don't know. I guess you kind of get the same out of both of them. Like, you're just kind of on good teams like that you think offer a lot of touchdown upside between the two of them is what I would say. Okay, so I'm going to get up to Amazing Flyer 21's question. Then I'm going to run over and do the waiver wire stuff in case anybody's watching this in the future. And then I will get back to Ed Zhang after that. So sorry about that, but usually I do this at the front of it. But Jason Ortiz had asked a bunch of questions, so figured we'd get them answered. Ben Rolla, hey, how you doing, Ben? How you doing? Good Tuesday to you. Thank you so much. Very kind of you to try to add Burden or Bourne. Looking for a week 8 play. Well, I think Bourne's already going to be a long forgotten memory. Yeah, let's go Brewers. Did they score any more points yet? No, they're down by 2. That's cool. Bourne might be gone. Might be forgotten by the time we get through week 8 because it looks like Pearsall is going to be back this week potentially. Juwan Jennings, of course, is back, and maybe he'll get somewhat healthier, possibly. I don't know if that's possible for him right now. But also Kittle could probably be back, and Purdy will definitely be back by week 8, and Mac Jones. And I talk about it in my wide receivers video, but I guess you won't get that. And Luther Burden, it looks like DJ Moore is good. I'm not like, if it's Fab or something, I'm not spending a lot on that. What's up, Metro? How you doing? You could obviously add him onto your roster if you want. But Bourne, for this week, there is a chance, obviously, if Pearsall doesn't come over. Flavored M&Ms outside the classic are not overrated, necessarily, at least. So, yeah, not necessarily there for Burden or Bourne. I'm not going crazy over them. How do we feel about trading Wandale and Shaheed for Terry McLaurin? I think I would be okay with taking that shot. I mean, you know what Terry McLaurin's done so far in the season. I don't think you're missing out on way too much between Wandale and Shaheed. If it's full PPR, maybe I wouldn't want to get rid of Wandale in full PPR. That's about it. Half PPR or something like that. I'm perfectly fine with it. And full PPR, I'm still fine with it if you have good vibes about Terry McLaurin. You think he's going to turn it around, be healthy again, and everything like that, which obviously is very possible. He could be a league winner down the stretch for people who traded him for cheap and stuff like that. Zhang doing well. I have Jaden and Dak. I'm torn on who to start this week. Currently, it's I think I have. Yeah, that's a tough one. I got Jaden Daniels ahead of Dak Prescott. It's a better matchup, and Jaden Daniels has performed better on the season, and Jaden Daniels has much more rushing upside, which is much more valuable than passing upside anyways. And the implied point total for him is better. So let's just go with Jaden Daniels on that one, and if Dak Prescott outscores him, fantastic. You're probably going to do all right either way. So, guys, waiver wires this week, quarterbacks. Let me run through this. Sorry, Zhang, Metro, I love you both, but I just want to run through these, so I will try to do this quickly. Quarterback waiver wire options this week. I'm just going to whittle this list down here to Trevor Lawrence, Jackson Dart, Sam Darnold. I think that's kind of like the ones that you're actually thinking about spending a waiver wire on for some sort of long-term option, and I would order them Jackson Dart. Probably Sam Darnold, then Trevor Lawrence in that order. Though this coming up week, I think I have Trevor Lawrence ranked higher than Sam Darnold. So if it's a short term thing, then to the rankings we go. But I think that's that's that. You have any waiver wire questions for quarterbacks beyond that? Just ask it. Kimani Vidal, Zonovan Knight. We're on to the running backs here. Tyler Algier, and then it's on to the backup running back. So really, it's Kimani Vidal and nobody else, in my opinion. I'm closer to Andrew Erickson here on Zonovan Knight, having him ranked like 8th. I really think that for the most part, I would rather... It depends on your team. If you need somebody for this week, absolutely... Okay, play Zonovan Knight. I don't think you're going to be happy with the outcome. I think you might end up, have been better grabbing one of these long-term guys, and maybe they'll end up getting a touchdown anyways. But, nonetheless, Zonovan Knight will get some sort of usage this week that's maybe a little bit more guaranteed than the amount that some of these other guys will get. And, I already talked about a lot of these guys thanks to those questions at the top of the show from Jason Ortiz in terms of the order that I like a lot of them, or you could ask. But, yeah, Kimani Vidal, probably the number one waiver wire option for the entirety of the week. Kendrick Bourne, Alec Iomanner, Jalen Coker, Josh Downs, Kayshon Boutte... and then we're getting into like waiver. So Jordan Whittington has, some value as a potential play this week. He'll be getting ranked and maybe for the following weeks. I mean, so I would actually probably say I would probably put Jordan Whittington ahead of Troy Franklin here. And Kendrick Bourne, once again, I'm kind of closer to Andrew Erickson on this one. I think as soon as this week, he might be history anyways in the books. There is a scenario where he'll be very valuable this week, though. So, hold on to him if you got him and all that good stuff. Like Iomanner, don't get too excited about Coker. Probably not going to happen. Josh Downs, mildly excited. I think a little bit higher than these guys, so I'm probably also in agreement there with Andrew Erickson on that. Kayshon Boutte, I think, brings some value. Like, I like the upside more than Alec Iomanner and Jalen Coker. So in any given week, I'd probably generally rather take that shot. I don't know that's how I'm going to rank it every single week or anything like that, though. And then Troy Franklin, Jordan Whittington are fine. Luther Burden. He's a long-term investment. See if things happen for him. I would also say the guys in Houston are supposed to get like more work. They want to get them worked in more. The rookie wide receivers. So those guys are also like in that Luther Burden territory of maybe hold them on a roster and see if anything happens. And then for the tight ends, Mason Taylor, a lot of tight end options. Mason Taylor, Harold Fannin, Theo Johnson. So once again, not a good Theo Johnson week this week, but long term I don't mind him. I do think that he's going to be like a mainstay as a target for Jackson Dart. There's really no wide receivers that are going to be coming out of anywhere. And he's a rookie. They like tight ends and all that good stuff. Rondé Gadsden seems interesting enough. I would still put him at the bottom of this list. Harold Fannin, if you need someone this week for sure, and still a hold long term as well. And Mason Taylor, I like a fair bit this week too. I can't remember which one of them I have ranked the highest. And then it just kind of gets into the other guys. So those are kind of my thoughts, generally speaking, on the rankings. Let me make sure there's no... Okay. I think there's at least one player that's going to be on this list. Oh, yeah. So Tutu Atwell could be like a deep league option to try to play this week. Same with Darius Slayton if he comes. Sterling Shepard should be on that list. Sterling Shepard, I think, is probably my number one wide receiver waiver wire option this week. Zay Jones would be a deep option to play in a deep 14-team plus league. If you needed someone to play this week, of course, Christian Watson, you could grab. Hold on, just see if something happens out of that. Josh Reynolds, also a deep potential play with Garrett Wilson not looking like he's expected to play. He's the primary guy there now, so targets. He'll probably get some targets. K-Dot also not on that list would be, if he's available, a very good option for short-term play. Same with like Evan Ingram if he were to be available. Okay, let's get to your questions. Ooh, Metro talking up a storm. All right, Edward Zeng, so sorry. I dropped Pearsall this week for a kicker because I'm last place. Should I use my first priority for him or Vidal? Do you need a running back or a receiver? Probably, I would generally say probably Vidal more than him. Full PPR, makes you maybe want to think a little bit more about Pearsall. Then I have CD, BTJ, Mike Evans, who could be coming back at any point, maybe even this week. Diggs, Keenan, Waddle, you seem to be pretty good there. Achan, Bill, Walker, Brown. I would probably rather Vidal, given the room that you've got there and the length of time that he'll be. Looks like he'll be something. I'd take a chance on Vidal. And Rashad White, nice, but his time is coming as well. M&M's overrated as fork. Not got a whole lot. That's the wrong hole there. You got to spell it with the W. A lot of waiver questions today. First, do I drop Pitts for Hockenson, Ingram, Theo, Juwan Johnson, or Jonnu, or just keep Pitts? I can just let you know how I have them ranked this week, and you can see if you agree with that. There we go. So, I think, I've still got Pitts ahead of Ingram there. I mean, that's something that maybe that could flip throughout the week. It's pretty darn close. If you liked Ingram more than Pitts or something, you could do that. But it probably won't. I usually don't move my tight end rankings too much. Pitts for Hockenson, Ingram, Theo, Juwan Johnson, or Jonnu. So generally speaking, I got Pitts the highest out of that group this week. Frank, there's also Fannin and Schultz. Yeah, I do like Fannin this week. Do have a Matira do feel pretty good about that against Miami. They suck against tight ends, and it seems like probably David Njoku's not going to be playing. So, Frank, what a crackin'. I have Pitts, Fannin, Ingram, Otten, Schultz on waivers. Do I just stay with Pitts? You could, or you could grab Fannin or Otten if you feel more comfortable about either of those. I do like Schultz this week. I still have Pitts ranked higher than him, but I do think there's a chance that Schultz will have a good week this week. So, I mean, I got Fannin, Kate Otten, Pitts back to back. I do have a bit of a tier spread between them. I do feel better about Otten or Fannin. Both of those two, though, are, not as long-term options as Kyle Pitts, so you could just stick with Kyle Pitts and hope that things work out in order to help avoid hopping onto the tight end carousel. Or you could say, I have Kyle Pitts. I'm already on the tight end carousel. Let's go. I'm going to grab the highest ranked guy that I feel the best about. So kind of your choice there, what you want to do. They're all very, very closely ranked. So just do what you're comfortable with there, Frank. I have Otten available too. Yeah, so, I like Otten a fair bit this week. Tight end 13, week 7. Let's go! What kind of world? How are you doing today? Second, what are your quarterback streamers this week? No Lamar, I'm thinking Dart. Dart's risky, but I do have him ranked, up there. So, quarterback 14, fade. Tough matchup. Not a good implied point total there. He's performed very well in other tough matchups so far and exceeded expectations. There's a lot of interesting plays this week. Aaron Rodgers is an interesting one that's out there. I think Carson Wentz, this Philadelphia defense, I think is pretty void of, not talent. They have a lot of talent in the center of it, and they have very interesting younger players in places. And I like their safeties, but I don't know that they're the best. Cornerbacks, though, stank right now. So they don't have Quinyon Mitchell. He's supposed to be out this week, as far as I understand. So I do think that he's an interesting play there as well. But, there's a list of guys in between. But Sam Darnold scares me going up against Houston. CJ Stroud against Seattle. A little scary. It's not that I ultra trust Aaron Rodgers, though, even in a good matchup against Cincinnati. So if Brock Purdy's out there, that'd be a good streamer, because you could just keep holding on to him anyways. 6 point per passing touchdown. Okay, well, that takes a little bit of the steam off. A little bit, not all the steam. By far from all of the steam off of Jackson Dart. But 6 point per passing touchdown. Then I would definitely, if any of these guys are available, definitely go that route instead. 100%. But I mean, Atlanta's a good defense. Seattle's a good defense. Cincinnati's a good matchup. But do we really think that the odds of Aaron Rodgers throwing 2 touchdowns is that much greater than Jackson Dart? And he almost has to throw like 2 touchdowns in order to at least make up for some of that rushing yardage that Jackson Dart. At a minimum, he'll get like 30 yards, you would think, so far based on what he's been doing this season. 25, 30. So I think it's still probably Jackson Dart. I would say Trevor Lawrence maybe in a 6-point passing touchdown if you want to think that they're going to give it to Los Angeles Rams. Rams could struggle against them a little bit without Puka Nacua as well. Could get him the ball a few extra times. That's all possible. Do you think Kenneth Walker will be traded? No, I don't think so, Lance. Do you? I assume you do since you asked. It depends on your options. Yeah, right. Everyone is available. Start Woody Marks over Travion Henderson. I would, Ben Rolla. I definitely would this week. I got a pretty big difference in the rankings between the two. Now, that obviously doesn't guarantee anything. We know that. But Seattle allows a lot of receptions to running backs against them. So far, teams have, that's where they've attacked Seattle a lot. So between him and Nick Chubb, you would think it should be a Woody Marks game. They should hopefully have him out there more, maybe, with that as part of the game plan, even just right out of the gate. And he's still has the higher floor. He's still been getting more opportunities even than Travion Henderson anyways. So, we're hoping Woody Marks will have an above average usage game. Even if he has an average usage game, it's probably more than Travion Henderson opportunity-wise, and both of them are in matchups that have good things about them. I would go Woody. Woody. And full PPR, is all the more reason why we like Woody potentially this week against Seattle. Edward, should I take Goddard, Mason Taylor, or Hunter Henry? I would have a hard time not taking Goddard there. Obviously, all of a sudden he could go 3 weeks without a touchdown, and maybe that looks like crap. But the same thing can happen to the others. In fact, the same thing has happened to the others so far, not to Goddard yet. So, do you want to go regression to the mean type of argument? No, I would just go with Goddard. I think he's in line for a potentially good week again this week. Theoretically, I think he could be then. So M&Ms are crushing the vote here so far. Is it because of Classic? I should have only put Classic, at least, because Peanut are too good. But I made this list based on list of basically what Americans spend their money on to hand out. Those are supposed to be the most popular. Daniel Jones, T-Law, etc. If Daniel Jones was available as a waiver wire option, I think that one would have been at the top of the list. And yeah, what kind of world? Amazing Flyer, what is up? My tight ends are Njoku and Juwan Johnson. I'm just ready to drop both. I would probably try to keep Njoku, but I think you can definitely drop Juwan Johnson. Because, I mean, it does seem like Njoku's ahead of Fannin when he's not injured. I don't really love Theo this week. I don't know if you saw those tight end. I'll pop the tight end rankings up, my tight end rankings at this point for this week, so you can kind of see what guys I like and what guys I don't like there, personally. So long-term Njoku I like. Long-term Juwan Johnson, I started warning people about this 2 weeks ago. So long-term Juwan Johnson, I'm not the biggest fan of. I think he'll still have some weeks, obviously. But, I don't think he's, anything special at this point in time. This might be a little bit low, but the reason for that is that I like a couple of things about some of the matchups ahead of him. Not all of them. Theo Johnson, Juwan Johnson this week is truly a toss-up, I would say. But, yeah, I mean, that's truly a toss. I might end up moving Juwan Johnson back up just a few spots here. Because this is also, I think, a bad matchup. I also want to see some of the matchup reports when they come in. after they're calculated with Week 6's results. Maybe I should try to trade them away, the tight end needy team, first. Yeah, I don't think Juwan Johnson or Njoku really have too much trade value this week. Njoku normally might have a little bit, but just a week ago, you could have gotten him off of waivers in a lot of leagues too. So you're going to have to really find the right person. And it's not really there isn't really much need for tight end around. Unless your need is one of those top couple of tight ends. There's quite a few tight ends right now. It's kind of a saturated market. You see everybody asking questions about them, and they got like 5-6 names when they talk about tight ends. Lance, bro, start 1, full PPR. Olave, Evans. Okay, so currently not expecting Evans to be playing. ETN, no, I think a full PPR will take Olave over ETN. I don't like ETN's matchup at all this week. I do like the matchup for Mason, but I think there's some risk there. Full PPR, I would probably stick with Olave. Olave over Keenan and probably Tet too, because I don't like Tet's matchup. But that might be something where I would not rank it that way. You know what? Full PPR, I might rank it that way. I'm going to say Olave against Chicago. Give me Olave against Chicago out of the bunch. Yeah. And then I think it would be Mason next for me. Or Keenan if you want to take a shot on that one. You could take the shot on Keenan and just hope. But he hasn't really had any games where he's gotten a lot of targets. Although he's still averaging a good amount of targets. I mean, that's on the high end there. So, maybe it's not so bad. Yeah, I think Mason has a little bit higher ceiling. Keenan a little bit higher floor for full PPR purposes. Olave, highest floor of the bunch. I think it would be Olave for me there, Lance, bro. I hate being in tight end. Lance, bro. I don't know if what kind of world realizes that Tedero McMillan's going up against Sauce Gardner this week, who's just shut down everybody, basically, that he's faced. Much more talented receivers than Tet. Yeah, the tight end carousel is just a fun place to be, but almost all of us are on it, so, you just gotta understand that. Biggest regret this season is settling with Juwan Johnson week 1 while Ferg was on waivers. Ugh. Yeah, we've all got our regrets. That's a tough one. Almost died the same, but picked up Ferg because I have Dak in this league. Nice. Almost did the same. Sadly, I traded for Juwan Johnson early after he boomed. Oh, amazing flyer. Yeah. Yeah, people weren't thinking about those tight ends returning in the early portion of the season. The moment I caught wind that they were on IR and that Juwan Johnson was flying solo, I was kind of keeping an eye on that. It did, not died. Tom, what's up? Should I trade CeeDee Lamb for Rashee Rice? I would not. Jordan, okay. Should I trade CeeDee Lamb for Rashee Rice, Jordan Addison, and Courtland Sutton? Not if you want the best receiver out of the bunch. CeeDee Lamb's supposed to return this week. Generally speaking, I would not do this. Now, if you have CeeDee Lamb and literally nobody else, and you're in a 3 wide receiver league, yes. If you have CeeDee Lamb and literally nobody else, and you're in a 2 wide receiver league, so let's say if you have CeeDee Lamb, Troy Franklin, and Cooper Kupp. So CeeDee Lamb, Troy Franklin, Cooper Kupp, Rashee Rice, Jordan Addison, Courtland Sutton, 2 wide receiver league. You could, if you really believe in Rashee Rice, which I assume you do in this point. So in that case, you could, if your receiver's that bad. If you got any of these other guys, anybody that's better than Troy Franklin on your roster outside of the CeeDee Lamb, I would just stick with that, personally. So I think that's pretty comprehensive of your situations. I'd probably just stick with CeeDee Lamb. It's not value-wise, the numbers add up. It's not like it's such a bad trade. It's just, I mean, can you even play Rashee Rice, Jordan Addison, Courtland Sutton, at the same time every week? So do you actually get that same value out of it? You get some depth out of it, but I'd rather the number one starter. So, like what kind of world said, depends on the rest of your team there. Ultimately, Frizzle, how's it going? How are you doing, man? Good. Safe to drop. He's droppable for Tyjae Spears. I would rather Keon Coleman than Tyjae Spears personally, but if you're desperate for running back help, you hope Tony Pollard gets injured, and then you have a middling running back on a bad offense. But hey, maybe offensive changes on the way with a new, maybe there'll be a spark there. Things will turn around for that offense. That's always possible. I don't really think it will happen because they just don't have a lot of talent, but it's possible. It's possible that they would look like they had more talent if they had a talented head coach and offensive system going on there. So you could. I personally just still think that Keon Coleman has the better ceiling than Tyjae Spears. What does it take to get to that ceiling? I don't know. I don't know that we ever see that realized this season, but I don't know that we see any kind of realization of Tyjae Spears either. Favorite running back stash? I mean, depends your league, how deep it is. I think generally speaking, like Tyler Algier is just one of the best of them. So, yeah, when it just comes to backup running backs, I think Tyler Algier is definitely up there. Did I have off this week? Am I not seen Tyler Algier? I'm just wondering where I have him ranked now. Oh, he is on bye. I just somehow overlooked it. Is he on bye? He's not on bye, right? Atlanta's playing. Oh, me, oh my. Algier ranked somewhere. Yeah, I like him. I like Algier. What do you think? Brian Robinson, kind of, but I don't know that he gets like the whole thing. Ollie Gordon, probably not quite. Yeah, I think Blake Corum's definitely up there. Yeah, Bashal Tootin maybe is kind of up there. Rashad White. I mean, some of the backup ones that I like the most are currently being used. Rashad White, Cam Scadaboo, no. And who else? Rico Dowdle. Yeah, he was up there. He would have been in that same upper tier with those guys. Those are probably like that. Those four are definitely top 5. I'm sure there's somebody I'm not thinking of, but those 4 names would definitely be top 5. By the way, Tom, are you okay? You wrote and then at why and you didn't finish anything. You didn't have a stroke or anything. If you had a stroke, just keyboard smash. Let us know, and we'll do our best to send some help for you. So Frizz, I hope that helps you out. He's not on bye. Yeah, thanks. I figured it out. Amazing flyer. Can I see the running back list this week? There you go. Got him up. I have Jacobs, Krosky, Merritt, and Chase Brown. Probably going to bench Brown this week and play someone else in flex. Yeah, that's probably the method to go. Definitely Jacobs and Krosky Merritt, though, out of the 2 there. As far as playing them. And sitting Chase Brown, you definitely can. Got him way down there. Although I just still don't think the world's over for Chase Brown. Everything might be all right. There might be some sort of revival there, but currently splitting the workload a little bit more. Didn't get the targets last week. I think he'll get more targets than that, but also, that might be kind of realistic with Flacco actually having receivers to throw to now. Caden 7877, half PPR, start 1 wide receiver and 1 flex between Sutton, Brian Thomas Jr., Breece Hall. I haven't done my flex rankings yet. Off the top of my head, Sutton, Brian Thomas Jr., I think I'm concerned about Breece Hall this week. So, yeah, off the top of my head, it'd be Sutton and Brian Thomas Jr. this week for that one, Caden. Andre Silva, is Isaiah Davis worth stash? Yeah, of course. There's really nobody else there that would get that workload if Breece Hall were to get injured. I don't think they're going to trade Breece Hall, but you never know too. So there is that, whatever 5% chance or 2% chance, whatever it is, that adds to the value of Isaiah Davis right now. So yeah, definite stash value for Isaiah Davis, including that possible trade. Yeah, trade rumors. I would just call them trade articles. I don't think that there's anybody in New York that's talking about trading Breece Hall. They might. I haven't seen any report of, they're fielding calls for Breece Hall. And even when those reports happen, a lot of times nothing happens. Trades are a pretty rare thing in the NFL. And a lot of articles get written about trades that are baseless, people speculating. And Breece Hall has been a popular one for the last 2 or 3 months for those articles. And sometimes those things do come to fruition. The reason that people suspect it is, there's an argument there that makes sense. It doesn't mean it makes sense for the team. It doesn't mean that the team agrees with the argument or feels the same way. But, so I'm just like, I don't care. I don't put too much stock in any kind of rumors until they're incredibly strong. And by strong, I mean like where it's coming from and kind of the verbiage going on with it. And even then, I don't put too much stock in it until it's happened, really. Once the trades happen, I put some stock into that. Let me get these waiver wires. So these are not top waiver wires. Waivers is pretty grimy in my league. Yeah. For running backs, it's basically just Tajay or Tyrone Tracy. I think I would go Tyrone Tracy over Tajay, but I don't know that that's right. They're pretty on par with one another right now. Technically Tajay is coming off of, more work than Tyrone Tracy right now. So it probably leans towards Tajay, maybe, over Tyrone, but I wouldn't say that's a for sure thing. If I did, I was going to starting running back in the Jets, where would you rank him? Depends who they're playing against. He would be one of those guys. I mean, it would really depend who he's playing against. I don't really think he's that talented of a running back, so, in a good matchup, somewhere like this, as a mid to low end, mid at best to low end running back too. I mean, he's playing for the Jets. Don't forget that. In a bad matchup, he'd probably end up getting stacked, closer to high-end flex back-end running back 2. So anywhere from back-end running back 2 to mid-end, or anywhere from mid-RB2 to mid-flex range, depending on the week and all that's going on. Because, there's a couple of guys who are not being ranked right here too. Derrick Henry, James Cook, notably. That would push these numbers back a little ways. So, yeah, basically borderline flex at best. But borderline flex back in RB2 kind of is like, at best for me going into, where I would rank them. But, yeah, it would depend on the opponent each week, too. Breece Hall has never said anything about wanting to be traded that I'm aware of. He was very professional all off season, talking about just wanting to prove himself for the next opportunity. I mean, I guess I see what you're saying. Like, he knows that he's the odd man out. He feels it, and so he wants to be wanted again. So yeah, I'm sure that's accurate. I did see a report from Giants Inside. I don't care about insiders. On a trade for Chris Olave. Well, yeah, I'm sure they want to make it happen. Does New Orleans want to trade Chris Olave, or do they not want to? They might want to. I know there have been reports saying that they're kind of sellers, so that is possible. And considering how few contracts they have that they can get out of, if they have contracts that they can't get out of, try and reset their whole cap hell that they're in, that could make some sense for them to try to do too. To just totally rework towards the future. But Radler might be showing just enough for him that maybe they don't want to. I don't know. Michael! Hello. How you doing, Michael? Hey, man. Lost like Buka and Hampton. Still 6-0 in my league. My lineup for this week is Prescott, McCaffrey, Dobbins, Odunze, Nico, Laporta, Swift, Tet. What moves should I make or stay put? I mean, your lineup's still pretty strong. You know, Tet is a risky play this week, but you're probably not going to find anybody that's better than him. Other than that, I mean, your lineup's really strong there. So I think you can just stay put, Michael. You know, because Igbokwe had hit, I mean, you didn't have to draft Igbokwe until at the earliest, probably your 7th round, most likely. So you already had, you know, some wide receivers in place, and Odunze kind of hit too. So, you know, you really got nice there, and it's not like Hampton wasn't a top 4-round play, and you hit on Dobbins, and you got Swift there as well. So, like, you're sitting pretty for a banged up roster, and I wouldn't, you know, if you can find a trade that's a good trade, go right ahead. A good trade's always a good thing to do, but I don't think there's anything that needs to be done, really. I have Lions defense. Do I ride with them this week versus the Bucks? Even with nobody, the Bucks still one of the best offenses in the league somehow, and Vegas seems to think so too. Or do I drop them and pick up stream another defense? I don't have room. It depends what's available. I don't think that you have to hold on to the Lions defense. I would say that, but I don't know if there's a string of 3 really good defensive matchups coming up after the Bucks or something like that. Maybe you just want to hold on to them. But if there's a really good option out there that you think, you know, has a decent enough chance, a 15% chance of blowing up, it's a really good matchup, a defense out there this week. Go right ahead and do it. But, you know, we all thought that the Green Bay Packers was the number one, not literally all of us, but generally, and me included, the consensus number one defense was the Green Bay Packers, and they were not good. So, you know, if there's a good matchup that you feel good about, go ahead and do it. Otherwise, let it ride if there's a string of good matchups for Detroit coming along after this week. But I don't feel great about them against the Bucks, even though the Bucks have nobody healthy. I think Spears had more snaps than Pollard. Yes, and slightly more snaps, but Pollard had more rushing attempts. So it's one of those weird things where sometimes guys get snaps, but that doesn't always equate to more usage, and sometimes that holds true week over week within backfields, and I think that that's one where that will kind of hold week. I think that was just more of a game flow thing, maybe, that Spears gets onto the field for more snaps. You think how many times they enter 3rd down situations. Maybe they had the ball a lot in like 4th down with like 4 minutes left to go at the end of the quarter and at the end of the game or something like that. I don't know if that's the case, but those can be some reasons why maybe a guy gets on the field more than the other running back, despite the fact that the other running back is the lead back. Pollard is still the lead back there. I don't think anybody's really putting that into the question, but I am aware of the snap count thing. What's up? I traded James Cook for Barkley in full PPR, and I'm wondering on your thoughts since I'm 2-4 and need any upside I can get. I mean, what was wrong with James Cook would be my only question. Amazing Flyer 21. Top 3 projections on waivers in my league are Chiefs, Panthers, Vikings. I don't remember who these teams are playing against. Okay, let's get off of here then. That's not what we wanted to click. Now we got Chiefs, Vikings, Chiefs, Las Vegas. You know, that feels pretty darn good. Panthers defense, I don't think I want them. Vikings defense, I mean, the Eagles offense could always do something. Yeah, I wouldn't write that off, so. I do think that they could end up really causing a lot of problems for this Eagles defense. So I would say like a ceiling shot if you really want to risk it. I don't mind the Vikings, but it's kind of like the Packers. You're either going to get the 2 points that the Packers ended up getting last week, or you're going to get the 15 points that everybody thought the Packers were going to give you last week. I think it's kind of going to be one or the other for the Vikings. Chiefs, a lot safer of a floor there. So, generally speaking, I'd probably go with the Chiefs. But, hey, you know, Geno Smith could always find find his way too. That's possible. What kind of world saying Chiefs? Yeah, they're generally going to be thought of higher. I do once again think the Vikings they could cause some problems for Jalen Hurts. It could be an ugly game for that offense. Yet again, it's possible that we hit rock. It's possible that Philadelphia hasn't hit rock bottom, and the Vikings defense is rock bottom for them. I think that's possible. Should I trade Jameson Williams and Hampton for Breece Hall and Rashid Shaheed? Yeah, sure. Hampton's could be out for some time, and Rashid Shaheed I might rather have than Jameson Williams. Probably not quite, but, I should say I wouldn't. I would still draft Jameson Williams over Rashid Shaheed, but that's closer than it was at the beginning of the year. And Breece Hall's actually playing and all that good stuff. So I would make that trade. I would take Breece Hall and Rashid Shaheed there. Thank you for your advice. I was thinking the same. Chiefs play Commanders, Bills, and bye week. Amazing Flyer, getting his answers from someone else already. You love it. All right. Just traded Ibuka for Dunze. What are your thoughts? That seems fine. 1-5. Yeah, especially, okay. You need it. You need help now. You can't wait. And by the time Ibuka gets back, it looks like, I don't know, maybe Chris Godwin's not going to be much of a factor this year. Maybe he's just going to be kind of gimped and injured all year and not at 100% health. But Mike Evans could be back at least. And then Chris Olave could be something that could just take a little bit, make Ibuka just a little bit more boomer bust than you would want, And so, not that that might not be the case for Dunze, but at least you can use the Dunze for the next 3 or 4 weeks, maybe more. I mean, Ibuka too, hamstrings. I mean, players come back and then they re-injure them and boom. So, because of Dunze's health, I say yeah. Ryan with the pass defense. I'm trying to get the teams that play the Titans. JC Reyes? What is up, JC? With Rico Dowdle, already 5th in rushing yards after 2 starts. What do you think will happen with the Panthers' backfield once Chuba is healthy again? I think Chuba's their starter, and I think Chuba's their backup, and I think Rico's their backup. And I think that Rico was already starting to get more and more work each week. And it's probably going to be pretty close to a split, and there'll be some element of hot hand, but I still think that Chuba is their starter. Yeah, I'm thinking 55-45 hot hand, so it's not going to be 55-45 every week. If Chuba's struggling a little bit and Rico reps him off, Rico. They're very interchangeable in terms of the fact that they're both like above average runners, good runners, and they're both good in the receiving game. So they're very interchangeable in that sense, which is very nice for them. They can just fluidly put them in, take them out of the game, any and all situations. They can just be their 2 guys. So I would think it's just going to be a heavy dose of both of them. And hey, Trevor Etienne, thank you so much. Just keep practicing, learning, watching. We'll give you a carry every now and then. Tried to sell high on Rico, but yeah, I mean, what if it's Chuba 70% again, and then Rico's worth nothing. Dirty Fish gameplay, but I think we go closer to the half and half, and maybe an element of hot hand even could make them both, I will once they're both back, especially like week 2. Week 1, I might give the lead to Rico Dowdle if it's like this week. But generally speaking, the first time they're both back, I will be reducing both of them in the rankings to a split backfield situation. That will be my first guess. Okay, Dirty Fish gameplay. Would you trade Jalen Warren and Tet for Breece? And Harrison Jr.? Jalen Warren and Tet for Breece. Okay, so Jalen Warren, Breece. I want Breece. Tet, Harrison. I want Tet, obviously. But I think the gap between Tet and Harrison is closer than the gap between Breece and Jalen Warren. Probably. It feels really sideways to me. Whichever 2 you prefer. Obviously, you're struggling with it. I'd lean Breece and Harrison Jr. by a fraction. Okay, you know what? Full PPR? Yeah, okay. Full PPR, I want Jalen Warren and Tet. Half PPR, I will slightly lean Brees Harrison Jr. I would not. I would probably not be the one sending this trade out, but if it came to me, I would have a tough time declining it or accepting it. You know, it's very sideways. But full PPR, I will say Jalen Warren and Tet. Should I pick up Booty or any Bucks wide receiver? Sterling Shepard, I believe I'm gonna have ranked the highest. This week. So if you're just looking for this week, Sterling Shepard. Where's Booty? Yeah, Booty next tier, little ways down there. I definitely don't dislike Booty, but you know, I mean, we've seen him be hot and cold, in and out. He's hot, then he's cold. He's in, then he's out. He's up, then he's down. He's something. What's the rest of the lyrics? Anybody got it? Should I trade Rico for Genty? Yeah, I'd take Genty over Rico. Hell yeah, Frizz. Alright, guys. Any other questions? Otherwise, I am gonna get a going here. Kind of wanted this to be a quick one. I do apologize for attempting to half sing for you. I can't quite hit the Katy Perry octave, so I definitely wasn't about to try to mimic it. I shouldn't say that. I can get kind of high voiced, but not like. I probably got to be in a shower for it to sound at least somewhat decent. I assume. I don't think it sounds good. So, with 21 votes, anybody else going to pitch in on the vote? Otherwise, I think we're going to shut some things down here, starting off with the poll. So, get your answer in. What is the worst of the good Halloween candies, meaning the most popular Halloween candies? I know, yeah, maybe M&Ms are a little bit overrated. All these are a little bit overrated in the sense of these are the ones that we've had the most of, but that's for a reason. They are popular. So I'm going to end the poll there, and M&M's Peanut or Classic is going to be the worst of the best, and I assume that's because of Classic. I think if I put M&M's Peanut there, it still might have been the one. I personally would have switched my vote to Kit Kat, but I voted M&M's because it's Peanut or Classic, and Classic M&M's, yeah, they're pretty boring. I do enjoy them from time to time, but they are pretty boring. Probably, I'd say better you put them in the refrigerator, get them nice and cold, get them a little bit more crispy, crunchity. They're better. Hot weather, even though they're built for hot weather, it's too gooey. It's not good enough of chocolate for that. The outer kind of shell is where it's at. Is what makes them good. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I am surprised Reese's Peanut Butter Cups took second, and I think that's because people either like, and most do, or they don't like at all the combination of chocolate and peanut butter. And I'm assuming that chocolate peanut butter combination, or people didn't read the question correctly, led to that 24% vote. Kit Twix. So Twix actually is the most liked. If we inverse this, which I don't think the vote would work out this way either, but if we were to inverse this, maybe Twix is the safest to hand out. You will get the most positive response and the least negative response if you hand out Twix. That's where you're going to find your happy medium there. Maybe you don't get as good of a positive response, but you won't get as negative a response as you do if you're handing out the Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, too. And then you got the allergies to peanut butter, too, for some people. You know, Twix are delicious. Twix are great. Probably underrated. Maybe they're not underrated. Hey, may the forge be with all of you. Reyes, how excited should I be as a Rishi Rice owner that his suspension is listed? Hesitantly excited. This week, you know, shaking off rust. He hasn't played since in over a year. A year and 3 weeks, roughly. So he hasn't played since, what, mid-September of last year or so? Late September, maybe it was. Any football. I would say just don't be so excited that you don't expect what he was last year for those first 3 games, because now we got Hollywood there. Now we have Xavier Worthy after he's not a rookie in his first 3 games anymore. We still have Travis Kelce there, who actually looks like he's in a little better shape than he was last year, especially in the early portion of the season last year. So there's much more competition for Rashee Rice, and he is a low ADOT, high yak, high reception guy. So like his value might really get suppressed if that ball is getting spread around and he's not getting at least 9 targets a game. So if he's getting 6 targets a game, you might be a little underwhelmed. So I would say be hesitantly excited. Like get excited. It's fantasy football. You drafted the guy, but beware. There are some reasons to be concerned about it. Just about the absolute upside, but also, I mean, the team loves him, and so does Patrick Mahomes, and I think he's an excellent fit in their system and everything. And that offense is humming a little bit, so maybe he can pick up a little bit of slack and just get more touchdowns too. Could be a touchdown machine. That's always possible. Which one should I start this week? Keenan Allen, T. Higgins, or Woody Marks? It's probably Keenan Allen. I think I'll still have Keenan Allen ahead of Woody Marks. I don't mind Woody Marks, and I do definitely have Keenan Allen ahead of T. Higgins there, Andre. So that is the route I would go. All right, guys. We're going to end the stream here just about an hour in. I appreciate y'all. I love you all. Thank you very, very much. Don't forget to just like the stream on the way out. And at the beginning of the video, I did go over about 15 minutes or so into the video. If you're catching this for some reason and you didn't catch that, I went over all of the waiver wires. I was looking for the page that had the waiver wires, but I went over all the waiver wire options. All right, that is it. Peace out. Have a good one. I will see you guys Thursday, 1.5 hours prior to kickoff. Bada bing, bada boom.